The Minnesota Vikings were completely dismantled at home. Why did it happen? Do we have a good excuse? What's going to happen from here on out? Let's panic. It's Locked On Vikings.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a live edition of the Locked On Vikings podcast. Thank you so much if you are here live. It is midnight in Minnesota, and I'm still mad. So I went live, or if you're listening to this on Monday morning, like you usually would be, hello as usual. So welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast, where we are always trying to learn something new. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day every single day. I appreciate my hashtag everydayers so very much. And the reason I'm doing this live, well, there's a couple of reasons. For one, I'm in a new spot. I moved. You can probably tell by the fact that my setup isn't set up at all. It probably sounds way different than what it usually sounds like. And there's a skull made out of painter's tape behind me instead of any kind of coherent background. So we're doing our best. And it's going to be like this for most of this week, probably. So, but that also means that I'm able to do this live a little bit more often. So if you are in the chat, what I want to know is, what do you think is the best excuse for the Vikings totally laying an egg on Sunday Night Football? They lose 22-6. And I want you to tell me why, and tell me the reason you believe in that makes you think that it's all going to be okay. That's what I want to hear. And we are going to respond to some of them, because I think some of the excuses are valid, and I think some of them are not valid at all. And we're going to do that. But there's a lot of stuff to kind of recap about this game while those file in. So if you're live and if you're in the chat, hit me up with that. If you're not live and you still want to participate in that, you can always ask me a question for Town Hall Tuesday. The Google form for that is in the show notes. You can always give me a bold prediction or a hot take for that as well. The bold predictions will be Fridays. The hot takes will be alongside the questions on Town Hall Tuesdays. So what happened? The vibes were so good. They were so good coming off of Monday Night Football, and then the Vikings just they just show up and throw up in their lap. Like, just totally collapse on prime time. I've got a few of my reasons, but I'm sure the big one comes from Pudge1281. Thank you so much, Pudge. The O-line injuries are adding up. Look, I get it. Missing Darisaw hurts, and Justin School once again had an outsized impact on this game. I think for me with school's been bad, and I don't want to argue against that. School has been terrible, but it's not all just that. And I think it would be a little short-sighted of us to be like, oh, well, it'll all be fine when Darisaw comes back. Then everything's okay. That'll help, but I think the problems go beyond that, and even some of the problems made School look even worse than he was. Plus, now it's a moot point. He's got a concussion. And it's going to be Walter Rouse. Brian Kelly has a concussion. It's Michael Juergens now. And the O-line injuries continue to add up. But this one started before School and Ryan Kelly had gone out, right? And it started immediately poorly. 3 and out to start the game for the second straight week. Can we please get a first down in the first quarter? I mean, my goodness. Before the last play of the first quarter, this offense is completely anemic. There's no way around it. This offense cannot move the ball. They're horrible. They're just really bad. They had 2 reasonable drives where they got close. And they've had one good quarter. And that was the fourth quarter against the Bears. One good quarter in the last 4 games. They haven't had a second good quarter since they poured water on Sam Darnold's face in the locker room after beating Green Bay last year. It's been a really rough slump for Kevin O'Connell's vaunted offense. The Vikings are well regarded for being super well coached and having it all together. And they just don't this time. They just did not at all. So that's what I need to know what is happening. And we can't know without being in the room or without being, in the presser asking Kevin O'Connell what happened. But why can't they get lined up quickly? Why can't they break the huddle on time? Why can't they avoid these delay of game situations or false starts and miscommunications? Why can't they avoid busting a protection and letting an edge rusher, a backup edge rusher, mind you, get in completely unblocked, light up your young face of the franchise QB that you're trying to sell to everybody, getting a strip sack, and that's how you start the fourth quarter, by letting that guy in unblocked because guys didn't know what they were supposed to do. That's the thing for me. The headline for me, guys didn't know what they're supposed to do. Why doesn't anybody know what they're supposed to do? Is that because they're not communicating well on the headset? Is that because there's too much chaos on the sideline? Is it because J.J. McCarthy just can't handle all the information, can't relay things properly? Can they not hear him? I mean, sometimes the problem is as simple as, oh, that word sounded like another word and maybe we have to change that. Like, it can be that solvable. But that's the key to me. I look at these individual performances and you say, yeah, TJ Hawkinson didn't have a great game. Justin School was horrible, right? JJ McCarthy didn't have a good game. All these individual performances are worth evaluating and thinking about. But globally, the problem is that nobody knows what the heck they're supposed to do. You can't run an offense like that. I don't care how talented you are. You can all be 5-star first-round picks, bajillion-dollar players with huge Nike endorsement deals. If you don't know where you're supposed to go, offense won't happen. You just will not move the ball. Defense wasn't any better, and I do want to get into that. But we can give them at least a little more credit for their highs, right? The Eric Wilson forced fumble was a very awesome play from a backup linebacker. Really great to see that. You had a Jalen Redmond came in for a couple of really big moments, a sack, a really cool TFL. Jonathan Grenard had a couple of good moments. He did hurt an oblique. You have to deal with that with the injuries. But I can't get over that they dropped 2 bills on you on the ground. 200-yard rushing game. That's really nasty as a team. 200-yard rushing game. Bijan was over 100 yards in the third quarter? Disgusting run defense output. And, we've had games like this. I remember a week 2 game a couple years ago. It was right when Brian Flores got to Minnesota, and he was still experimenting with his defense. The iteration that we kind of understand it as now hadn't quite formed yet. He was still trying some 3-3-5 stuff. And the Eagles had a game like this where they ran for 200 on the Vikings, and it was a close game because there was some weird turnover luck, but there ended up being personnel packages that Brian Flores completely abandoned after that game, never went back, and it was for the better. So when I title this show, Something's Gotta Change, that's what I'm talking about. What has to change? That's the other question I want to pose to you in the chat. What has to change for the Vikings to turn this season around? Even though they're 1-1, and they're not out of any, contention for anything, they could very much go, hey, Bengals without Joe Burrow, Browns and Steelers in neutral sites, rattle off 3. Any of those games is not particularly difficult to imagine the Vikings winning, but they got to figure out, they got to put it together to do that. Only if the Vikings put it together is it interesting and possible to imagine that. So what is the difference between what we saw tonight and what we're going to see next week? What do they do? Shadow Flame has a great excuse. We're going to go through these kind of periodically the whole day. It's a little different. I hope it works. We are missing Harrison Phillips. I don't know if that's an excuse, but it sure might be a reason. The Vikings getting run on like this, embarrassingly, 200 yards is embarrassing. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. I mean, that's really getting lit up. That's the best day of someone else's life over there on the other side. Getting punched in the mouth like that after you trade your run defending, run stuffing nose tackle that was good for a moment of zen kind of play every game, that stings, man. That really calls that into question. Did we really need to do that so that we could keep Elijah Williams in the building and then have him be inactive and have somebody else get put on IR? Did we really need to do that so Taki Taimani could be on the practice squad? Is that worth a 6th-round pick to us? Was this game worth a 6th-round pick to you? Because I kind of feel like what happened on defense this game really, really got made worse by losing Harrison Phillips. Boy, yeah, there's a lot of interesting other questions in the chat. But I'm still looking for some of the best excuses. I'm looking for the one Freddie. JJ had a busy week. I'm sure he's sleep deprived and not focused tonight. Okay, if this is really an excuse, a lot of people have done this, and then kind of famously, quarterbacks have had a child. For those of you that don't know, JJ McCarthy's baby was born on Thursday. Congratulations. Welcome to the world, Rome Micah McCarthy. And a lot of quarterbacks have done that and then like had their dad strength game and like totally showed out the next week. So I don't buy it. It is proven that it can be done, and I don't think that the fact that you couldn't do it makes for a better, like, I don't think that makes for a valid excuse. And in fact, I believe in JJ McCarthy enough to think that he should be able to overcome that he should be able to, miss one practice and have a little bit of a worse sleep one night and not just kind of totally poop the bed. You can't have that. But I still want to talk about some of the changes that you guys are proposing and the injury lists, and we've got quite a bit yet to break down in this game. So that will all be next on Locked On Vikings. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hey, do you want to take your mind off this? Are you tilting? Because I sure am, and I am absolutely going to go headfirst into PrizePicks. I am going to be a degenerate monster in Monday Night Football with PrizePicks. This is how you get in on the action. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, it's easy, and it is my favorite way to follow along with games that I otherwise don't really have a huge stake in. So I'm pretty excited to go for something like a CJ Stroud, more than less than passing yards, that kind of thing. And I'm going to string a whole bunch of ridiculous ones together, and maybe you should too. You can also string them together with some max discounts. That means you get discounted amounts. So for example, next week, you can add to whatever play Patrick Mahomes more than half a passing yard. Maximum discounts. If you think he's going to get at least one passing yard, you can put that into, I know he didn't have the best game, but a half a passing yard, come on. So you can throw that into your play as well. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 plays. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, let's move on with the Locked On Vikings podcast. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day. Technically, if you're in Minnesota and it's 12 a.m., I am your first listen of the day, and thank you so much for that. You can also find patreon.com/LukeBrownNFL. As soon as I log off with this one, I'm going to go to my Patreon page. I'm going to make everything from last week free to watch, so you can go grab anything if you want to go relive that, or you just want to see how Dallas Turner did in his first game. I didn't get a great look at Dallas Turner in this game, so I'm going to table that one. It's not because I like he did well or poorly or anything like that. I just didn't catch it. I just wasn't looking at that. So I have to go back and get a better sense. But Freddie, you got a great excuse. Peyton Manning and Terry Bradshaw sucked as rookies. You are so true. That is so true. This is the best one I've heard yet. Just dude's young. And I know it's like so hackneyed. It's such a cliche, but the fact that JJ McCarthy is young and struggled means we don't need to be sounding the alarm bells about McCarthy at all. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like, oh no, our rookie QB sucks and start like doing mock drafts with Arch Manning. And I'm like, we don't need to go there. But what I think is at this juncture, you're actively in an NFL season. I mean, it's Harrison Smith's last year. It's got to be this time, right? Surely. Like, it's people's last year in your organization. People are going to get cut next year, traded next year. It could be a lot of people's last year in the NFL at all. You got to figure out a way to make a successful team. You do not get to take years off in the NFL. And as much as it's tempting to say for us as fans, we can take a year off, right? We can throw our hands up and say, I don't really care if you win or lose this year. We just want to see JJ McCarthy grow. You can do that. Nobody is stopping you, and good for you. But the team can't, right? Like, they have to figure out a way to move the ball with JJ McCarthy. And I think it's a good exercise for him long-term as well, for the Vikings to figure out what can this kid actually run that works, and whether that means we got to do more play action or we have to do quick game. This is something Ron Johnson pointed out on the squad show where I was much fierier. I got a lot of my anger out on that one. But there were like no 3-step drops. There's no quick game. There's no just get the ball out, do something nice and easy and fast. And maybe there should have been. Maybe J.J. McCarthy did have some quick options and turned them down for whatever reason. But everything seemed a little bit slow and chunky in the pocket. And that made for a really bad offense. You get sacked like 6 times. You get a strip sack in there. You're starting to force things. And then you get execution mistakes in just the regular stuff. You get a drop from TJ Hawkinson that almost turns into a second Billy Bowman interception. By the way, okay, I got to do this. It's killing me that it was Billy Bowman, because I thought Billy Bowman would have been a great pick for the Vikings, who desperately need a defensive back right now because everybody's hurt. But no, instead you picked up a punt gunner who did a great job as a punt gunner, but Tim Jones is getting reps over your 3rd round receiver. That dude sucks. Like, what are you doing? That one pissed me off. And I was pretty critical of it, and a lot of people were like, you don't know what you're talking about. He's really good. Wait till he's getting 100 yards week 2. He didn't play. Where is he? Tim Jones is getting reps over him. He's not even on the team. Or I guess he is now. But, man, sorry, I got sidetracked there. The point is, you got to figure out how you can get a functional offense with J.J. McCarthy, or he won't learn or grow at all. Because while Terry Bradshaw and Peyton Manning sucked as rookies, so did Josh Rosen. Like, it doesn't help. It means week 2 is way too early to write off any QB. Of course. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about the problems and try to suss out what exactly the Vikings have to do to get things back on track. I can't stop thinking about, like, ever since that great Green Bay game, they've had a no-show against Detroit, a no-show in the playoffs, a 3-quarter no-show in Monday night where the Bears just managed to totally implode and collapse on you, and then another no-show. Can we show up to a game, please? It's been a year. Can we show up to a game, please? Jonathan Swanson, this is a good question. At what point does McCarthy need to show that growth? Week to week. I want to see a little bit more. I want to see a little bit more next week. I don't need to see him be good, but I want to see, oh, cool, they're getting out of the huddle quicker. You can throw 4 interceptions and you're getting out of the huddle quicker. I'm going to go, okay, at least there's that, right? And long term, you're going to learn from those interceptions, but you're going to keep getting out of the huddle quicker. But I don't need I don't need to put deadlines on. He's got to be ready to go by this time. No, you just kind of want to feel that over time you're seeing you want to, by Thanksgiving, you want to look back and say, oh yeah, we're a long way away from that, like week 2 debacle meltdown. There were a bunch of head scratching decisions that went into this one. I've already talked about them. The Ty Felton one, I'm ready to call a head scratcher. I think it was really stupid to draft a receiver that can't play receiver in the 3rd round when you had so many other pressing needs, especially in your depth, and now those needs are getting tested and you're losing games because of it. I think trading away Harrison Phillips was a head scratcher that they're getting super, super, super punished for. I think anointing Justin School with the backup left tackle position and giving Walter Rouse no chance to earn it at all was a head scratcher. Justin School goes out with a concussion. Walter Rouse cleans up. I didn't get a great look at him outside of the one holding penalty, so I'm going to reserve judgment on if he actually played better cold off the bench. But even if he is worse, don't you want to have gotten a look at that beyond just how he looks in practice? Don't you want to put him next to the ones for a little bit more and see how it is? I know he got a couple of days with the ones, but that should have been a real competition and it wasn't. You really should have evaluated that better. And I think that there is, on the whole, this is what I think the global, the real problem here. And if I may catastrophize a bit, this is what I think, when all is said and done, will lead to the end of Kevin O'Connell, whether that's 2 years or 10 years from now. When Kevin O'Connell is in his, I'm about to get fired year and we're all really mad at him, which happens to every head coach, okay? We're going to say it's because he isn't hard enough on his players. Not as in we want him to be like Mike Zimmer and light people up kind of way, but in a way that's we want him to be a little bit harsher about his internal evaluations. You can chalk all of these problems up to he just believed too much in guys that had shown him already that they couldn't do what he was going to ask them to do. And I think the same thing goes on defense. This is a culture-wide thing. This is a whole building, top down. You have to be honest about what your guys can and can't do. You trade Harrison Phillips because you think Javon Hargrave can stand up at the point of attack. But I can show you a game from week 2 last year that proved that wrong, because I saw Garrett Bradbury take that dude to the woodshed on run plays, just like what happened tonight. I can show you that. You should have known that he can't do that. That's not what he's built for. He's built to be one-on-one and beat guards and get sacks like he did in week 1. You should know that J.J. McCarthy can't handle the PhD offense. The Kevin O'Connell, 25 words, everything is a big long thing with a can and you're drawing things up in the sand. You can't do that. And he's talked about how you can't do that like you can with a veteran. He's had to adjust. And I don't think he's doing a very good job of adjusting. They are breaking the huddle late. Something operational has to change, because when you break the huddle late, this is the best example I could think of. The first play of the game on offense, Jalen Naylor is like rushing across to do jet motion. It's just gonna be a little swing pass out to him. A nice easy completion, good play call, but that ball was late. The timing was off, and I don't know if that's because he was trying to get it off before a certain second on the play clock, or if it was rushed for some other reason, or if J.J. McCarthy just did the thing slow, but that timing was off. You can't run that stuff. You can probably run, like what Freddie is asking for, some quick slants. The Vikings never call slants. I don't really understand why, but you can probably run that. You can probably run some spacing. You can probably run some choice. Run the easy stuff, the quick game. Get the ball out. And hey, that helps to protect your patchwork O-line that now has 2 second-year players that suck on it. That's what I want to see. And so I think now it's time for the actual cope. What can we do to look at this game and not completely melt down? Okay, we've gotten it all out of our system. We have catastrophized. Is that a word? I might be making it up. We've let the anger out. So now, how do we look at this and move forward, or at least project how the Vikings can move forward? They got 15 games left to play, and if they win a lot of them, this one won't matter anymore. So how do we move forward and achieve that goal? That'll be next on the Locked On Vikings podcast. This episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by BetterHelp, online therapy made easy. Some of you probably need that. We all turn to some funny places for advice sometimes, like your favorite neighborhood podcaster or a barber or whatever, but not everyone is right for you. And that is where BetterHelp comes in. They have over 30,000 licensed therapists, and they will help find you the right match. And if they don't do that to your liking, you can always switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. It's made to be flexible. You can join sessions online, from home, or on the go, which makes therapy fit into your busy schedule. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of experience. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Today's episode is also brought to you by Upside. Hey, you buy gas, right? Have you ever been frustrated at gas prices? What if you could just slash a quick quarter off of those? Because Upside basically just lets you do that. It's a free app that just lets you save money on gas. You can use my limited time promo code touchdown and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. Simply download the free Upside app. It's in the App Store, Google Play, and start earning cash at the pump today. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you were already going to buy. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now by using my limited time promo code touchdown for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code touchdown. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. It's cope time. Don't clip that. But it's very much cope time. Let's cope with the Vikings. There are a couple of copes coming in from the chat. We got a punter, baby. Benjamin King Quayle. Very true, Benjamin. Ryan Wright, monster class. Some absolutely insane ones. And for as much of as I'm dogging on Ty Felton right now, Ryan Wright has very much had his life made easier by Ty Felton. I almost want to do a Patreon video on it, and I probably will later in the season if there's a week where not a lot's going on, maybe a bye week thing. because it's super cool that like if Ryan Wright shanks one out of bounds, that you can't do anything about that. But like these low line drives that he gets sometimes where he has hang time issues, Ty Felton's down the field forcing the fair catch anyways. And when he does boom one, it's even easier for Felton to get down there. So you can really, really flip the field. It's been really awesome. Unfortunately, the rest of the special teams sort of melted down. You had these terrible Miles Price decisions. You want to talk about head scratching decisions. Why was he taking those out? I wonder if the Vikings like thought they saw some exploit in the way that the Falcons were covering their kickoffs and thought they could like take advantage of it, but it didn't work every time. And they totally screwed up their field position by like 20 yards. That is so significant. If you look at like drive success rates from the 20 versus from the 35, like it's significantly different. I don't have the numbers in front of me as I'm doing this live show, but like it's a lot. That's a good quote from Freddie. You're on fire today, Freddie. We are favored by 4.5 over the Bengals next Sunday. That's going to make for a juicy money line for me to try to take on the Viking squad show. I'm taking the other team's money line every week on that as a bit. Don't worry about it. It's not my actual opinion. We'll see what they can do with Jake Browning. We'll get into it then, but it's going to be a pretty tough sell for me to be like, oh, it's Jake Browning free win when like just 2 years ago, Jake Browning in particular kind of diced this defense. If Miles Price made regular decisions, it could have changed quite a bit. And some of those drives that like stalled out could have been a little bit closer to potentially field goal range too. Problem is you gave up 22, you only scored 6. So like you got to find a way to move the ball anyways. That muffed punt at the end though was surely the cherry on top. That feels very bad, but luckily it happened in a way where it didn't really have any impact on anything that was already going to happen. So it's fine. This isn't exactly a cope, but I do want to update you on some injury stuff. Let me see if I can find it. But the big one is you've got a hamstring injury for Aaron Jones. You've got a concussion for Ryan Kelly. You've got a concussion for Justin School. You have JJ McCarthy had his ankle taped. I don't want to say the T word. He mildly got an ouchie. And so that's going to be a situation to watch. You had what else have I missed here? You had an oblique injury to Jonathan Grenard. And I feel like there's one other one that I'm forgetting amidst the myriad of problems the Vikings had. They got a ton of injuries, not to mention you're dealing with concussions for Andrew Van Ginkel. You still got waiting for Christian Darrisaw and Harrison Smith to come back. You have a concussion from Jeff Okudah. The Vikings are like suddenly ravaged by injuries. Here's a cope for you. At least it's happening in a developmental year. If this is going to be a year where you look back and you say, yeah, they didn't do great, but JJ was just kind of coming along. And, in the next few years, we kind of saw what he really was capable of. If that's what 2025 is going to be, at least that was the year where the injury bug went crazy. Because it is nasty right now, regressing in a very, very hard way, even though that's not actually how regression works. When you get really lucky with something, you should go back to average, not to the opposite. It's tough, man. It's a bad feeling, but I think honestly, the best cope we can come up with is that it's a long season, and the NFL season is both forgiving and unforgiving, right? There's only 17 games, and you can't get one back when you no-show for a night. But if you pull it together, you go beat the Bengals, you go on international, and you start, you get the Steelers, you get the Browns. If you win next week, we are no longer talking about week 2. You're 2-1, baby. You're 2-1, headed over to play at the Steelers, who kind of looked horrible at home against the Seahawks. You win that one, and you're 3-1, and now you're playing the ailing Browns. You're feeling way better about this season, even going into a really tough schedule gauntlet. That's really easy for me to say, right? They're 1-1. Well, if they won 3 games, we'll feel a lot better about 4-1 than we do about 1-1. Well, yeah, of course. My concern is that the way that these games have gone down, they have played one good quarter in the last 4 games that they have played. Kevin O'Connell has to change something. And I don't know what that change is. Maybe you change the way you the hierarchy on the headset. Maybe you mute a couple of people on the headset that aren't supposed to be talking. That can actually matter a lot. Somebody who's not supposed to be talking is talking, or some conversation is not productive enough, and time is of the essence. Every second is precious, right? And wasted seconds cause the problems that we've seen. Maybe you just have to simplify things. Maybe you want to incorporate more play action. Maybe you want to incorporate more quick game. Maybe you just need to get guys back healthy. Whatever it is, you have to make a change. I don't think that change, though, is like fire someone. I don't think that helps. You just have to do a better job of identifying what your team is actually capable of and what they are not capable of. And that's what the preseason is kind of supposed to be for, and the joint practices and that whole setup is supposed to be about what can we execute, what can't we execute. And I wonder if what happened was, the defense made the offense look silly for most of camp, right? And I wonder if you went, but it's the Flores defense, and you wrote it all off. And then you had all these issues that were kind of creeping up, but you coped. And you went, I don't think they're really that big a deal. And then you didn't do what you had to do to change things, which is not necessarily go trade for another guy. It's not go out and get Odell Beckham in the building, or it's not. This isn't Madden, and this is like a pet peeve of mine, that the only changes we can come up with are personnel changes. Those are helpful and those are something, right? Bringing in Christian Darrisaw and putting Justin School to the bench probably would have made a difference in this one. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't, but what I'm saying is we can think of better problem-solving things. You can change the way you call plays. You can change the timing of which you call plays. You can change the level of simplicity. You can add more complexity. You can take complexity away. You can do a lot of stuff with the tools that you have to make adjustments, whether it's at halftime or in a timeout or in the middle of a week or in a bye week. You can do all of those things. The Vikings have to. They cannot walk away from this one with all the excuses and say, well, McCarthy had a baby this week. It's probably fine. And roll out the same nonsense. It is not working. You have to recognize that. But I think sometimes O'Connell has been really stubborn and unwilling to recognize when his guys can't do it. He's a little forgiving, right? He's like, hey, we're going to keep at it. It's okay. No, it's not. You just got drummed at home on national TV. Figure it out or be 1-4 by the time you're hitting the bye week. Those are the options. I will see you all tomorrow. I think that's technically true unless you're in Mountain or West Coast time. I'll see you Tuesday morning for the Town Hall Tuesday. Get your questions in. And as always,